users after that is done and get their feedback on what they would like to see the balance of that money go to, and then present that to you for you to make a final decision on. They may have someone show up for that council meeting, I don't know. We also have started the closeout for the library grant. That's kind of an involved process. We have some steps that are in place that need to be, it has to be publicized. We have to have a meeting that probably will take place in December. We are waiting to see information back from them on those steps. We're plugging ahead or pushing ahead with the audit. We've been working on the prep list for them, pulling out some information and getting that secured for them, and we've been in contact with Todd a little bit. They will be here on Tuesday, not Monday, because Monday is the holiday. The tentative meeting with them and the audit committee is for that following Thursday. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Susan.
Excellent, very good job.
As a matter of course, and this is just my opinion, I'm not speaking for the council by any means, other than like the type of training that we have to do to maintain proficiency or certification or so on and so forth, a summary after the training to just to you know, for the participants, just to see what the value of that training that was above and beyond the fairly standard stuff like the customer service training or the Chicago training or whatever, just feedback as far as what the benefit of the training was, I guess.
Oh, okay. The training that we went to on Friday was very beneficial. We went into Sun River for some customer service. It was actually a non-defensive training, so that you're communicating with a non-defensive nature. It was very helpful. Tina and Wendy and I went over for that. It was for an afternoon. It was a very reasonable cost. It was $5 per person. So it was extremely good training. The speaker is pretty well known in different circles. It was put on by the Sun River Police Department. There were a lot of different people there. She spoke about how you can look at things or how not to become defensive, and it was very enlightening for me, particularly. Sometimes you don't realize you're becoming defensive when you do, and it's helping you decide how to look at that, to recognize it and then deal with it so that you can speak with people and not get on the defensive, which puts you in that war mode of communication, which a lot of us don't realize that seems to be the general way of talking with people. When people disagree with our views, we tend to get defensive, and then you have those things that fall into place that, oh, they're wrong, and you go on the warpath and you attack. And it's how to recognize those, stop that, and also just ways that you can deal with that in an effective way with customers, with any kind of interpersonal relationships. It was really a good training and well worth going over to.
Defuse the situation by not lighting the fuse in the first place.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. That's great.
Thank you.
Revisions, discussion of the first reading.
Your Honor, before we move on that, let's see. It'll be page 10 for all of you, for everyone who's got a packet, page 10.
Talk about number 15.
Yes, number 15, thank you. Yes.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
No. Anyway, on the 1, 2, 3, the fourth sentence in section 15, it says 30 micrograms. Make that 25. Okay, that's the only correction that we can make. One minor, couple numbers. So anyway, council, as you know, we had the public presentation by LRAPA at the high school, of course, basically a public hearing in regards to this. And these were the recommendations that LRAPA had given us prior to that. And I have added them into, well, actually modified ordinance 889, which is now ordinance number 903, and made the changes that they requested. The major change is on page 13, where it talks about section 7 contingency measures. Okay, that's the big one. In a nutshell, if we don't make the requirements by the 2014 deadline, okay, that's some additional requirements, such as, for example, the reduction of opacity from 40% to 20 will kick in. I think that's one of the major ones. And so basically, they want to have the ordinance in place in case we don't make the new standard. So for example, on November 15, 2015, okay, if we don't make it, these standards automatically kick in. So that's where they're coming in with the contingency. Now, if we do make it, the contingency plan does not take effect. So, either way.
Well, part of the, Mayor, part of the thing of having the ordinance in place right now is that they want to go to EPA with the contingency plan as having been adopted, plus because that contingency plan has to be accepted by EPA.
Where is the contingency plan?
Well, it's in the,
It's part of the
So
ordinance.
this is considered a contingency plan under this ordinance?
that is correct.
Okay.
That is
So it's not just an ordinance, it's a little broader.
a little broader than that. That is correct.
How many red days you still have to have in all this year?
Well, we just started today. Today is, so we haven't had any. Today is the first day.
Well, my wife is going to put the scope on real quick.
So,
We can agree 30, typically about 30
between 20 and 25 on average.
And as I read this in fairly simplistic terms, basically they are giving us the option to police our own house in the next couple of years, and if that doesn't happen, then we won't be given the option to police our own house. Somebody else is going to do it for us.
So what happens is automatically this stuff takes effect.
Well, actually, we can still police our own house, however,
The benchmarks
the
that we have.
benchmarks get lower.
More stringent.
Now, this is on here for first reading, and does that mean we're going to read this entire ordinance?
No,
Or are you going to read the changes over?
all we have to do is just first reading of the ordinance by title only. So we do it by title
It's
only.
not the first reading, it's the first reading by title.
Title only. Well, we're gonna read it by title only twice. Okay,
Right.
so that we don't have to read the whole thing.
Fortunately, we get past the argument used to occur, so
I
it'll make it simple. Alrighty, what is the wishes of the council? What do you wish to?
Well, so, Mr. Mayor, I'd move that we read ordinance 903, adopting new training for air pollution control by title only.
For a second?
I'll second that.
Moved by Councilor Fortune, seconded by Councilor Clark to read by title only. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilor Barkley?
We gotta read the title only.
Oh, good idea. Uncall for the vote.
Ordinance 903, an ordinance repealing ordinance 889 and adopting new standards for the Oakridge air pollution control program.
Okay. I'll call for the vote.
Councilor Barkley?
Aye.
Councilor Fortune?
Aye.
Sorry. Mayor Shirley?
Aye.
Mayor Basil? I'm not with that.
Counselor Callahan.
Aye.
Counselor Clark.
Aye.
Counselor Kardowski.
Aye.
Motion carries. Alrighty, 6.4, ratification of city administrator's employment agreement.
Your Honor, would you like to just set that aside and just go through the rest of the agenda? And do that last?
I think so. Is that going to be part of the executive meeting?
Yes.
Okay, 7.0, community services fee waiver for WAC gym. Road sale, UWCDC, food for Lane County. I think Karen Tiller had brought this before the council.
That is correct, Your Honor. This organization and other organizations have asked for fee waivers in the past, and it is for a good cause. It is rummage sale for the food box, and I am recommending that council waive the fees for the WAC.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve the fee waiver for the use of the WAC gym by the UWCDC. Food box for a room.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Councilor Fortune, seconded by Councilor Barclay. Further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote.
Mayor Shorty?
Aye.
Counselor Barclay?
Aye.
Counselor Fortune?
Aye.
Counselor Clark? Aye. Counselor Kardowski? Aye. Counselor Callahan?
Aye.
Counselor Griffith?
Aye.
Motion carries. 7.1, rental of WAC phone room by, rental of WAC phone room by UWCDC Food for Lane County.
7.2.
It's seven, that's correct.
7.2.
Okay. Your Honor, as Councilor Clark brought to our attention during the work session, the Upper Willamette Community Development Corporation, known as UWCDC, is the sponsoring board for the food box. And one of the requirements, as she stated during that meeting, is that information is gathered from the different clients, and they need a place to do this where this confidential information can be gathered and where the people can feel comfortable as they're going through this process. I am recommending that the council do a lease with the UWCDC for $50 a month, with the understanding that the city must still have access as needed because it is the telephone.
To utility room, essentially.
Yes.
Engineering.
Yes.
Right.
No, there's no reason. Well, Mr. Mayor, I move that the mayor sign the lease agreement with the UWCDC Food for Lane County.
Moved by Councilor Clark, seconded by Councilor Kardowski, to have the mayor sign the agreement with the UWCDC for lease on the phone room. Any further discussion?
Just a quick question. And, if it's a phone room utility space, I don't imagine it would, but paragraph 3 of the lease agreement, we're paying normal utility, garbage, and the other things are kind of under the whack umbrella. At $50 a month, I mean, obviously it's not something we need to show a gain, but is that $50 a month take care of those services, I guess?
For that particular room, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because I believe for the food box room we charge $216, I think.
And logically, they'd be-
241. Okay.
logically they'd be using the same garbage and those
Yes.
sort of things.
Yes.
Okay.
And like I stated before, this program is probably used by more people in this city than any other program that we have. And their confidentiality is just something that's got to be addressed.
Sure.
This is the way we felt it could be done.
And actually, that's probably pretty good use of space.
And I already have had much community support for this. I've already received a check for the first month's rent if this passes tonight from a community member.
Thank you.
But I won't mention Jen because
All right, vote on that. Further discussion? All right, call the vote.
Counselor Callahan?
Aye.
Counselor Baker? Counselor Kordowski? Aye. Counselor Borgen?
Aye.
Counselor Clark?
Aye.
Mayor Shorey?
Aye.
Counselor Barkley?
Aye. So we officially have a food box subsidized by a couple of hookers.
That's we do. We do.
Oh, wow.
They do.
We might want to clarify that.
That's good.
7.44, library update.
And that's 7.3.
And 3.
Oh, I'm sorry, crossed it out before I got to it. 7.3, rental of OIP for adventure race.
Council, there's been a lot of discussion on the OIP, what to rent it for, what not to rent it for. So I spoke to the mayor in regards to this, and he felt, and I felt also, that this might be something that needs to go to the Community Services Committee, because this young man wants to do this in the spring. So we'd like to take it to the Community Services Committee so they can come back with some recommendations to council on what we may charge, or we should charge, or we may not charge. Are they okay with having an obstacle course out there with mud pits where people crawl, ride bikes, those kind of things? And Mr. Girding, the young man who wants to do this, said that they would put the place back into original condition, and also checked with Chuck to ensure that the area that they wanted to do this in was not brownfield stuff that had been cleaned up before, and it wasn't. So it would be an area that could be used, but I believe the mayor was thinking to pass that over to Community Services so that they could give us a recommendation.
And I shall do that. If Community Services would be so inclined to take that on, it needs a little more study than just discussing it here. You might want to, they pretty much explain what an adventure race is, but an adventure race really, this one he's talking about is, you may have seen them on TV, they're becoming popular all over, where these crazy people crawl through mud and barbed wire things like in the military, and over log obstacles, and ride bikes and do all kinds of strange things, and they want to go around the parks a few times, around the little ponds a few times, but rather than take up time in this meeting, I'll refer that to the Community Services report. Now can I go to 7.4?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Library update.
Okay, 7.4. As you all know, we're coming to the end of the library project, and as Susan mentioned earlier, they are starting to go through the closing process of the grant. And I asked Mr. Hodges to give us an up-to-date accounting of the project, and at present, he's showing that there's $51,289 still left of the grant. Okay, so couple of things that I have him looking at right now is we're looking at options with the HVAC unit. So that's one of the things I have him looking at, is possibility of moving, not moving, in place, not in place. So I do have the engineer looking at those items, and we're not sure that the grant may pay or not pay. So those are the questions that need to be answered before we move farther. The other item that we were looking at, but I doubt that we're going to pursue very hard, was the library staff and board had asked, some members had asked about a machine, you know, that if you, like a Walmart machine, you walk out and it goes bap, 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 you know, you take an item out without checking it out, you know. So a sensor machine. I don't believe it's something we need. It hasn't been a problem in the past. The reality is I don't think that's something we're going to pursue, because they're kind of spendy, you know. So But, and you will see down in the bottom, where it says the power assist doors for main entrance, Cat 5 wires. You see the book return at $1,400, okay? If we would have bought a new book return box and put it in, that would be $3,500. Okay, so we're saving $2,100 there by taking the old book return. So they're going to move that one and put it in over here. So, and they're also going to patch it up. So that's all part of the deal. So we're saving about $2,100 with that, and it seems outrageous, but as we all know, prevailing wage. Okay, that. So if a carpenter touches it, guess what? Another thing that we were told was that the grant would not pay for a pull-down screen, okay, those kind of things. So, and it would not pay for a commemorative plaque. Okay, so that's something to think about. They run between $700 and $1,000 for a commemorative plaque. Okay. All right, yeah, that's pretty high. So that's something to think about. That would be something that we would have to pay for ourselves out of the budget. The library could bear it, but they, they want to buy some other stuff like computers, maybe a few books. So that's a decision from the council. Possibly I can bring that back to you next meeting, and y'all let me know if we need to have a plaque or not, or how we want to raise the money for a plaque. So that's where I'm at. Any questions?
Just to give you an idea what he's talking about, I think you'd like a plaque out there.
Right. Right.
A dedication plaque.
That's what these are.
Right, yeah, there you go. If you hold those up, there's a couple examples.
And we kind of talked about, I kind of talked about what you draw on that plaque. If you go out there, unless you've been around a long time, you probably don't even know who those people are that are on there. So rather than put names on there, we just and let them off. Because the city councils change and mayors change and everything changes. But people that build it don't change, and the people that engineer it don't change. So they're there.
So, and if I may, from a generic standpoint, we're looking at City of Oakridge Library dedicated to the citizens on December 1st, 2012. Project team, City of Oakridge Library Board, Council and staff, City Engineer, and then the contractor. So it'd just be a very simple plaque. Okay. Or other option was just change to where City of Oakridge Library presented to the citizens on. So either dedicated or presented. So this is what we're looking at, something simple, okay? And I just haven't been able to get a solid cost on this thing.
Now, does it have to be a gold plaque, or can we get something a little cheaper?
What plaque?
Gold.
Gold.
Gold?
Sounds like you're not talking about a gold plaque at $1,000.
Well, remember an ounce is what, almost 2,000. So we know it's not gold.
They come usually, I think this one I heard is bronze, and they usually.
Yeah, I think they're bronze.
As they age, bronze isn't cheap either.
Yeah, so I believe they are bronze.
Well, personally, just my own opinion, those are two options. To me, I mean, we got a grant to build it, and we're under budget, and we got a pretty nice library, and at no cost to the city because Laverne basically got the fundraising for the grant. Personally, I like presented because it is kind of a present. If you take your word of presented.
Okay, well, we'll be talking.
So I'll bring that back. I'll bring that back on 11/15.
By the next council meeting, we're going to be getting pretty close to being done. I think a couple weeks before that.
Yes.
I'll see. Oh, is your hand up there?
I so curiosity what the plaque says something about the people who donated the money to build it. I mean, basically the people that you're putting on that plaque got paid to build it, so it's kind of their deal. But I mean, there are people that.
Well, the library board is volunteers. Yes. Yeah.
So those guys are all volunteers.
Yeah, all of your library board folks have volunteered.
Everybody except for the engineer and contractor.
Library, yeah, your library board, and there was some discussion in that, so this could morph into a little more, so yes, I can probably add some kind of an option like that.
Well, there's many ways to do this. You can dedicate it to individuals, an individual, several individuals, or like this, keep it generic. Have some feelings about dedicating it to individuals, because sometimes those individuals will want to get the thing built in the first place.
Just what I was
It's open for discussion.
Well, aren't we doing a memorial?
We're doing the memorial square out here.
It's kind of a dedication, and I'm sure we have a memorial within a memorial.
That was more for that Mark Sandin, our fire chief that passed this.
Okay.
All right,
Anything else?
and so I'll have that on the written.
All righty, thank you, sir. We will move on to 7.5, UBRA street closure and tree lighting.
Well, council, as you know, over the past few years, we've had the tree lighting, more than a few, and the streets have been closed, and the businesses have participated, and this is something that they would like to do again, and they are asking for the street closure permit for November the 30th, 2012, from about, they're asking from 5:30 to 8. Kent, is that going to be sufficient amount of time, or do you need?
Last year it took a little bit longer than that, but we streamlined some things, so we're hoping 8 o'clock would be about right.
So you're okay with these times?
We're okay with
Okay. All right. So 5:30 to 8 p.m., which I think would be another nice event for the community.
Where are you talking about closing it from?
The street closure would be from Pine Street, from the east side of Pine to the west side of B Street, so that the traffic flow.
Mine is the one that runs by inbound.
Correct.
So,
Correct. So people coming off of High Prairie can still go down and come down onto First Street and out. Yeah. So they'll just go straight instead of turning down Oak. They'll go straight ahead and come down Pine. So
makes sense.
so the issue is so that continue traffic flow.
Okay.
And my understanding is this big tree right over here is going to be the one
Yeah.
that will.
That's correct.
The living tree, yeah.
The living tree, oh,
Yeah.
It's a big living tree.
yes.
That's correct.
And there's also, I'm not sure how you plan on doing this, Kent, but we usually have a group of people that are out singing and wandering around and things. Or were you planning on using that field out there for the people?
Yeah, the people can be standing in that field. Part of the field is also going to be used as a living nativity scene.
Okay.
The Assembly of God is going to do. So the rest of the field can also be used for people standing around. We plan to put the karaoke that Amy's doing on the concrete section that's out there, so that way we'll have at least a steady place for that. And I went over and looked at it today. We have the electrical that we need to be able to do all of that, so we shouldn't have any problems with that.
Rum and the eggnog this year?
If you bring it.
That's going to be on, what date? 3rd?
November 30th,
November 30th.
Friday.
Oh, November 30th.
30th.
Yes,
So,
Yes.
less than a month.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the street closure for UBRA from Pine Street to Beach Street on November 30th.
Second.
moved by Councilor Clark, seconded by Councilor Callahan to approve the closure of the street on November 30th for the tree lighting. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, ask for the vote.
Council Callahan?
Aye.
Council Baszler? Council Barkley?
All right.
Mayor Shorey?
All right.
Councilor Fortune?
All right.
Councilor Kardowski?